So I made this beautiful orange colored dress for my daughter for her 3rd birthday, and a friend saw it and said she absolutely loved this ball dress. So on today's tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how I made this little ball dress with pleats or kind of drapes at the top and a little bit of embellishment, then with the downside being more like a ball dress and having a turtleneck to it. So if you want to watch this, if you want to learn how I did this, keep watching this video. So first, you're going to need your doll face, lining, and of course you're going to need your net. So I had to work with the net that has close holes. Then this is our pattern paper and your measuring tape. So we have to start drafting our patterns. So to draft our patterns, we're going to need our basic body measurements for the baby girl. So in the previous video, I showed how to take measurements for baby dresses. So for this particular baby, the measurements are as follows: shoulder measurements 9, round chest measurement 24, high waist measurement 10 or 11. So then the round high waist is 24 inches. So from our neckline, which is the upper edge of pattern paper, to the next line, we're going to measure and mark 0.75 inches. Unlike adult blouses where we measure and mark 1 inch. 1 inch is going to be too big for baby dresses, so for now we still use 0.75 inches as our range. So the next line we're going to mark is a high waist line, which is 10 inches. So from the upper edge of the pattern paper, we measure 10 inches as our high waist line. So to get the armhole line, we do 10 inches divided by 2. That's 10 inches being the high waist position, and then our armhole line being that's high waist position divided by 2, that's 5. So from that 5 inches, we'll go up by 1.5 inches to get our armhole position. This is going to help us in drawing our armhole curve. So we connect the lines like so, and then we start marking, and we now start drafting the pattern. So usually for baby dresses, we draft both the front and the back patterns together. So we now mark our zip allowance of 1.5 inches and draw a line from the upper part, which is the neckline, to the high waist line. So after this, for our neck width, we're going to use 1.75 inches, and then our neck depth for front we use 2.5 inches. This is not a fixed value, but just a value that works for me, and I don't want the turtleneck to be too tight for the baby, so that's why I'm using 2.5 inches. So for the back high neck, we're going to use 1 inch depth, then still the same width of 1.75 inches. So for the shoulder, we'll do shoulder divided by 2, which is 9 divided by 2, 4.5 inches. Then we'll connect with a slant. Then we'll still come and mark 4.5 inches on the armhole, and for the armhole we'll still mark the round chest measurements divided by 4, and then we draw in our curve. You know how you draw in your own curve, so you just go ahead and draw in your curve like that. So on the high waist, we'll mark round high waist divided by 4 in addition to 1 inch dart allowance. So we'll now mark our dart position by measuring to get the center. So when we get the center, we'll mark our dart position, and we'll share our dart allowance equally, half inch to the left and half inch to the right. We left our dart to be about 1 inch away from the armhole line. So we now added our sewing allowance of 2 inches so that it can be adjusted when the baby grows. So from the high waistline, we just went up by 0.75 inches and connected it to the dart leg like so that we don't have this there's this shape that comes on the side when you sew the dart, so we don't want to have that shape. So we'll now start adding our sewing allowance of 1 inch from that curve so that we can also maintain that curve. And here, this is what we have. We're done constructing the front and the back panel together. So now I'm going to just cut out this pattern so that I can separate the front pattern from the back pattern. So if you're new to my channel, do give this video a thumbs up, share and subscribe. If you're watching this as a video course, just make sure if you're watching this as from our baby dress video course, just make sure you practice the rest of the videos. So this is just one of the videos that to be on YouTube. The full tutorial will be available on my baby dress online course. So we just go ahead and draft the shoulder line, like we just copy the pattern. So this is what we're going to use as the back piece now. So in the absence of a tracing wheel, I'm going to use pins to transfer my pattern from the master pattern to the other one. So after marking it out, we will now use our pattern, our marker or pencil to mark it out. So I'm going to use this new pattern now as our back piece, while I trim off the excesses on the other one to serve as our front piece. So we had to cut off the neck depth of the back to have our front neck depth, then the zip allowance, because we don't need zip allowance in front. So now that we're done with this our patterns, we're just going to label it. This is the back piece, so we label it like so that we can know that we'll cut it into two. And then this is the front piece, and we also label it like that to know that we are also going to cut it on a fold. So we are going to cut doll face. We're going to cut doll face, and we're also going to cut lining for it.
Thank you.
So now this is a plain piece of paper, and I want to do my fashion mathematics on this particular plain piece of paper. This mathematics is very, very important for the kind of baby dress that I'm teaching you. This kind of baby dress requires a full net without necessarily having nets underneath it. So from the high waist, from the neckline to the high waist, have about 10 inches. Then the full length of the baby dress, I initially used 30, but then I realized it was 27. So I'm going to be working with 27 eventually, but for my calculations I will work with 30. Okay, so just fill in your own measurement. So I'm working with a full length of 30. I'm going to work with a full length of 30. Then my half length, which is my high waist length, is 20. For us to get the length for the ball, that's the lower part of the baby dress, we're going to do 30 inches minus 10 inches, which is the half length. So our ball layer will now be 20 inches long. So what this means now is that we're going to have different layers of net. For this particular pattern that I'm teaching you, there are so many patterns that are used, but I love this pattern because it ensures that you do not see the under layer. You don't have to start seeing the doll face or the taffeta that was used inside. So my longest layer will start from the high waist of the baby and get to the full length of the ball dress. So that's going to be 20 inches. So the next layer will be starting from the middle of the ball, that's the lower part of the baby dress. The middle is 10 inches. So the next layer will start halfway, so that's 10 inches long. Then the next layer after that 10 inches will start 1 inch above that 10 inches and extend all the way to the full length of the baby dress. So we just keep going like that. We have 10 inches, we have 11 inches, we have 12 inches, 13 inches, until we get up to 20 inches. So my last layer, for my calculation, I should be stopping my last layer around 1 inch, just 1 inch below the longest layer. So that's going to be about 19 inches. And what it means is that we're going to have a lot of layers: 20 inches layer, 10 inches layer, 11 inches layer, 12 inches layer, 13 inches layer, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. That's like 11 layers. Imagine when you have 11 layers, like all laying on top of each other and the rest of them. You can imagine how full the dress is going to be. But eventually I might not be able to work with 11 layers. I might just reduce the number of layers. You can work with as many layers as possible. The important thing is that your work is neat. The important thing is that you calculate well, and the important thing is that it fits very, very well. It doesn't necessarily matter the number of layers. You can get whatever it is you want. And when you're selecting your net, don't select a net that is too soft, because no matter the number of layers you have, your net will just fall your hand if it is too soft. So just get a net that is tough, a net that is thick and strong and has